Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Elevate You. We're so excited to have you here. Becca and I have met just this last year, and as soon as we met, we hit it off, and we thought it would be so amazing just to share our life experiences with you. So, thank you for joining our journey.
Yeah, it was really interesting because Irene and I met in a very funny way. We'll have to talk about that sometime in the future episodes. But we clicked right away, even though on paper we are pretty different. So I am a mom of a toddler and corporate professional. Irene just recently left the corporate professional world, has pursued becoming this amazing entrepreneur coach. No kids, so we're very different on paper. But what we both have in common is that we are very dedicated to goals. And so we're big on goal setting. And that kind of brings us to our first podcast subject, right, Irene?
Yes. So, speaking of goals, we decided to have our first episode talk about the downfalls of being an overachiever. Because Beck and I, if we have one thing in common, it is for sure being an overachiever, which has had huge success for us in our lives and achieving great goals, but has come with some downfalls as well. And really thinking about being an overachiever, I think about a childhood memory where I was in sixth grade, and we talk about the concept of if you're just born being an overachiever or if it's more just nurture and it just happens through life and how you're raised. But I believe that it's really a combination of both. So I have this distinct memory of when the first time I realized that being an overachiever was hard and created some challenges in life because I was so obsessed with getting straight A's. And it wasn't just straight A's. I wanted straight A pluses and regular A's. And I got an A minus. And I remember being so upset. It was the end of the world. I was crying. Like I could visually still see the report card when I closed my eyes because of how upset I was. And I remember it also too went hand in hand with the fact that the teacher that gave me an A minus wasn't a nice teacher. And I remember at student conference, my mom was there and I was crying because I got an A minus. And my mom had to tell me, Irene, if you still got straight A's, there's so many people that don't even get straight A's. So that's when I realized that when it comes to being an overachiever, it's not necessarily a good thing because it really can take the joy out of your life. And it happened at such a young age for me. And to think all these years later, it shows up so much in my life still. So I definitely think that that's one of the biggest downfalls of being an overachiever is not finding true happiness in the moment of your big achievement because you're so obsessed with this perfection goal that you have in your mind. So, what are your thoughts on that, Becca?
Yeah, it's in preparation for this topic, I wanted to just look up what even the definition of an overachiever is or high achiever. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to frame that up. And it's really interesting because the definition I chose aligns so much with your experience. And it's that it's someone who achieves success over and above the standard or expected level, especially at an early age, which is kind of why you were saying, where does this stem from? Where does this need to always succeed and have really high standards that you achieve, where does this come from? And the fact that it's been identified that it starts at an early age, it kind of still points out that question. Is it because you're innate? Is it born with, is it a part of you being born, or is it put on you? And so I think my thoughts about your story, one, it's cute. The fact that you remember the report card, like that's how much it impacted you, is that you can visibly see that when you close your eyes, because it was just such a traumatizing moment for you. But it was like the way you felt about seeing something that disappointed you. And it wasn't what I thought it would be, which is that your mom would be disappointed. That's quite
Mhm.
opposite that what really happened. So I think that is important, that you identified that it did still joy. It stole some joy from you, from your childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things also too, why I believe that part of it is something that it's just innate with you, that you internalize from at such a young age, is because my sister has the same parents. We grew up in the same environment, and my sister is not an overachiever. And so just to
Shame on her. Shame
see,
on
yeah,
her.
yes. So she does not let these goals take her joy away from life. And it's so interesting because I see my nephews too. They are growing up in the same environment. They're 5 and 3, and same parents, same situation as me and my sister. And my oldest nephew, he is an overachiever. He's so hard on himself. And then the younger nephew, he's just so lighthearted. He is carefree. It does not steal his joy when he doesn't achieve things. So it's really interesting to see the difference between, is it nature or is it nurture?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
do you have any examples of when you were young that you can think of that stemmed from this as
Yes,
well?
yes, yes, yes. I have the funniest, it's almost embarrassing to say this, but I'll just give kind of a setting of how I grew up. And again, I don't think that my parents put any kind of standard on me that made me become the way I am. However, I was involved in a lot of different sports and extracurricular activities inside school or outside of school. And I think I did fairly well. I probably just have a knack for, physical athletic type things. Well, my best friend in middle school was going to try out for basketball. She had played basketball for a number of years. I've never played except for bump or horse or like those silly games you play in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And yet, because she was trying out for it, I wanted to try out for it too. And of course, I did terrible. Like the first day, it was probably very apparent I couldn't even dribble and I didn't know the rules. And so, in a nice way, the coach, cut a couple of people in the first round, and I burst out crying so hard. I even
Mm.
remember, Irene, I even remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I cannot stop my tears. Why am I crying so much? I don't even like basketball. But it was just because I didn't achieve success right away. And I don't know what I was really expecting, except that I would be adequate enough to, be able to add this to the long list of accomplishments, which in my middle school head, accomplishments meant sports and activities and the number of things that I was doing on top of school.
Yeah.
And that didn't end there. No, no, no. All through, my high school, college, first job years, and now to motherhood and
Mhm.
continuing to work, I continue to put so much on my plate that I don't know what, being very having extra time looks like, because I just never allow myself to get there because I feel like that's not success. And I feel so embarrassed to even say that.
Yeah, it's almost the idea of not just success is achieving a goal, but almost as if success is being busy and
Yes.
filling your calendar and doing as much as you can, which sometimes too, really thinking about the activities and thinking about, does this make me happy and is it successful? Because when you think about true success, your goal should be happiness, right?
Yeah.
Because why do anything in life if it doesn't make you happy? So I think it's so interesting just to see, because even now transitioning, like you said, into your adult life and how that's showing up still. And for me being an overachiever and pushing so hard, I've had to learn the hard way so much when it comes to really finding balance between taking care of my health and pushing for a goal, because I pushed so hard to the point where even at my 9 to 5, I ended up being hospitalized because I was pushing so hard to be perfect and achieve this goal. And when you realize that you push so hard until your body gives up. And there's so many people that I see that just shake it off. And I used to be those people that say, I'm totally fine. And I would have chronic pains, migraines all the time, popping pills, throwing up from them. And I would just shake it off and say, oh, I'm totally fine, until you don't have a choice because your body just shuts down. And that is definitely a downfall of being an overachiever. And one of the things I thought was so interesting that you were bringing up to me, Becca, is the fact that you spoke with your husband about his opinion of you being an overachiever and all of the things that you do, which I thought was such a great conversation to have, that you have that open conversation, but it was really eye-opening too. So
Right. Right. Thank you for reminding me. I realized, we were getting ready to have this conversation, and of course I reflected on the way I look at my life as if it's from the outside looking in, and
mhm,
I realized, my gosh, I'm impacting someone else in my life. So I talked with my husband and said, how is this affecting you? The fact, and how I laid it out, not just like I'm an overachiever, but saying the fact that I have so many things always going on. Like I don't know how to sit still. I don't relax by
mhm,
just sitting on the couch and not doing anything or having nothing on my calendar. That doesn't make me feel relaxed.
yeah,
And he said that, I thought his answer was so great. He was really being careful what he said in the beginning, because he said, your son and I appreciate your drive. We know
mhm,
that you are doing everything extra
mhm,
because of us. You're trying to give us a good life. But the fact that you are sometimes so just drained, you're tired, you don't have time for the things that do fill you up and do bring you joy, that
mhm,
you aren't as happy as I know that you can be. And we'd
yeah,
much rather have you be happy and playful and
mhm,
joyous just naturally, than to be producing so much opportunities for this family,
mhm,
so many options for this family to, in my mind, thrive and be successful,
mhm,
but the expense is a tired, almost empty mom.
yeah,
And he didn't say that part. No, honey, if you're listening to this, I thought your answer was right on. But I
yeah,
just know that sometimes I feel very empty, like I can't get the energy up to be playful and just innately happy, um, because I'm kind of uh my mom used to call it burning the candle on both ends. I don't know if you've ever
yeah,
heard that expression, but just running myself really thin, which you're very familiar with too, to the point where it harmed your health greatly. So
yeah,
that's a definite downfall, is that you could be affecting people around you, not
mhm.
realizing it, just because you are so focused on your own goals.
Yeah, definitely. I think from so many different angles. So, for me, thinking about when I was growing up, and my mom was the same as you and completely positive intentions and wanting the best for all of us. But I remember us being so busy all the time. We would go to Korean school, art school, all different things, piano lessons. And all I wanted was my mom to just take a breath and enjoy time with us, which I feel that growing up, we were just always on the go and so busy that we didn't get that. So I think coming from a child's perspective and, hearing from your husband from his perspective, and then also too, thinking about relationships in general, I am so into the five love languages. And something that I realized with my clients and relationships is sometimes the way you show love isn't necessarily the way the other person receives it. So, for example, for me, I show love a lot of the times through acts of service, which might be the doing part, right? Where some people don't feel loved by you doing things for them. They feel loved when you stop and you have these amazing conversations, or maybe for them, their love language is physical touch. So really knowing what love means to that person and how they feel loved, I think is so important to know. And then also too, thinking about how you said that being an overachiever can affect your environment and the people around you, because even thinking about in my last role being a boss, and how if I'm pushing for this goal so hard and not thinking about my team and how they actually feel, that is a big repercussion of the downfalls of being an overachiever. Because at the end of the day, what matters the most is the environment that you create at home and at work. And all of this overachiever goals are really something that stems from internal inside you and affects the outside. So I thought that this was a great conversation for everyone to just reflect on everything that you do in the day and really filtering through, is this what is my ultimate goal for happiness? So that you can, maybe not goal so high and push yourself to the point where you're unhappy or physically ill. And then also, too, maybe thinking about how this all of the doing, really you can enjoy things a lot more if you filtered some of it out and just do the quality things that mean the most to you. So
Ooh, I like that a lot. That's really, really good advice. And I think that said in another way, if I could go back and kind of reframe the way I pictured success or what a successful person looks like, it's that I don't say yes to everything. It's
mhm,
okay to say no and to think about what is going to bring me joy, because certainly when you're young, you're not always targeting happiness as your main goal, but
mhm,
we learned that, later on, that a lot of things come and go. A lot of those different goals shift and change with age, but when you think of, you know, being innately happy and building great relationships around you, when you learn that later on, then a lot of things that you used to do in the past just seem like they were almost a waste of time, a waste of energy, and in some cases could have been detrimental, to you and to other relationships. So I really like that point that you said. And what about even celebrating little successes? What do you think on that, Irene?
yeah, I think that every single day, it's so important, all the things that you've achieved. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the chase and get caught up in the everyday goals. And that's where there's potential to be unhappy, because you're always striving for the next thing and you're never satisfied. So I think that just really acknowledging everything that you've achieved today and even just this year, and being proud of yourself, because we do so much in a day. And there's not a way for you to be able to be happy if you don't stop and be grateful. So,
Ooh, I was just gonna say that. That's what I heard today was a cure for whenever someone is feeling like everything bad is coming their way, or they're stuck in some kind of a rut, or just feeling
mhm,
overwhelmed maybe with
mhm.
what's on your plate. The cure is gratitude, and just be
Yeah.
thankful for little things that have happened to you today, waking up, taking a shower, having loved ones around you, and that will probably change your mood really quickly. This has been such
Yeah.
a great conversation, Irene.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening to our very first episode of Elevate You. We drop a new podcast every week, so be sure to subscribe. And if any message resonated with you, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram at Irene Media Project.
And at Becca Manhow. We'll see you next week. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.